Let's see. Are we live? Are there people online? Can we start? Oh, hello everybody. Perfect timing, yes. Okay, there is some activity, that's great. Okay, so let's see what we'll be doing today. Hello Falk. Select language. Just a plain text. Again, there is no plain text. Well, maybe there is no plain text. Okay, see. Okay, so what we'll be doing today is to try to make it easier to reuse the same code paths for things like viewport updates, F12 render results, updates, and denoiser input access. So you might be wondering, why is it needed? Let's have a look at the current implementation of the path accessor. So this non-trivial logic which says, hey, give me the pixels from the render result. Danny, it's on today. Anyway, so then there is all those non-trivial logics about how to handle different type of passes, like how to handle render time pass, or the depth pass, or the sample count pass. And even less straightforward it comes to the passes like shadow catcher, which you need to have several passes and do some compositing of them, or when you do the mate pass. Okay, so for the shadow catcher we do not store the pixels as they are, we do some special division there. So this is currently only happening for F12 render result. For the viewport there is this kernel film, if I can spell. So there is this kernel film convert to half float. And again, there is some non-trivial logic here which goes to the get path result, which does all the divisions where needed and things like that. Okay, to make things even more interesting, there is a function which is used by the denoiser for the optics, which scales things down based on the number of samples, for example. Okay, and last but not least there is open image denoiser, right? Which also does absolutely similar thing, which does the scaling. Okay, so we have 4 places where we access pixels. It's not too bad currently, but if we want to support denoising of shadow catcher, or if you want to support denoiser or the shadow catcher in the viewport, we need to copy the logic in 2 or 3 different places, which is suboptimal. So, okay, so one thing I tried last week was browser. I'm not sure if it will show me my patches. So, not those. No, it's not too easy to find anyway. So the point is, what I've tried to do is to reuse the logic from the film kernel and use it in the pass accessor and whatnot. But what turned out to be happening is, because there is so much more logic here, which had to be extended with shadow catcher logic as well. There is way more things happening on per pixel level. Okay, so which made the pass accessor about 20% slower, which is not too much if you take into account the entire render time, but it's still rather annoying, and I don't want that, because in the Viewport updates they are already quite slow and they do bring some penalty for the render times, so that wasn't great. So what we're gonna to do instead is to try to convert the logic in a kernel film, and in this kernel do as little as possible on per pixel basis. So basically copy the outer loops logic from the pass accessor, whereas all non-trivial checks are done, and then use utility functions from the kernel film. Okay, and if that is done, if we can make it so that we eliminate the kernel film, convert to half float kernel, and do something higher level, the same code can be used for the F12 result, it can be used for the viewport, it can be used for the optics denoiser and denoiser of open image denoiser. So that's that. That kind of a quick introduction about where it's all coming from and why do we need it. So now let's try to implement it. And one thing I already was doing is I was refactoring the how we store the pass offsets to make things easier. So you can just buffers, yes. Anyway, so the idea was to remove the hard-coded list of passes with something more generic, which is actually defined here. So replace hard-coded list of passes with more generic pass accessor, pass offset access. So that does simplify some things. Anyway, so I think this patch works fine. I did it end of last week. Seemed to work, but let's verify it's working and submit it to the review first, because it will simplify some development further on. The CycleSex experimental download is no exe. I don't know about that. But I'm no longer the one who does the Billbot maintenance. There is James who does it. It should be on the Blender coders. So if there are issues with the builder bot, then just talk to James. Hello, Nuno. Better than the coffee. Ah. No, you didn't miss it. We are just starting. Just compiling. Maybe more coffee is better than coffee. And it's taking its time. Faster AMD EPYC. Well, what's the clock rate of AMD EPYC? Because that's the thing, it's better, and for the compilation it's actually better to have, for incremental compilation it's better to have more faster cores than more cores, if that makes sense. This accessor is gonna get even faster in the future. Maybe. It also depends how you define being fast. We definitely will be looking into implementing some algorithms which will make convergence faster, in terms that you'll need less samples. But it might also be that cost of one sample might get up. So at some point we'll be prioritizing minimizing time until the clear image, rather than optimizing time per sample. Only 29 gigs space. That's nothing. No, give me something like, give me 10 cores at 5 gig. That would be preferable. 4.3 is nothing by the nowadays standards. Come on. Anyway, so what we are looking for is that stuff should be working as expected without functional changes, but this boy loves to recompile CUDA. Huh. Have you seen the Brigade presentations of the implemented RTX? No, I did not see that. So those epics are not much better than the 7 years old CPUs then, eh? Which branch am I compiling? I know it's a proper branch, but... Oh, because... Okay, I see why is it so. Well, then it's like Xeon Phi's. I need to send you that machine. Okay, so Viewport GP works, that's fine. Let's make another full screen. Then don't you dare. Haha. Is that your fun? What do you mean? So, file run the works. Let's try the shadow. Where is that? No, yes. Will there be custom bokeh? Maybe? It's not impossible, it just never was a priority. Heard a loud whooshing. Ah, no, that's I think Vesper's outside. The window is open because it's quite warm outside. Anyway, what else I wanted to do? I wanted to check the denoiser. And for denoiser I need to disable shadow capture, yeah. Okay, so denoiser works. Compiling on a GPU. I don't think that's a good idea. Probably will be much slower. Okay, black screen, how about that? Okay. Hey Mike, how's it going? How's the studio? So that's that. Okay. Is there script to render one object from different angles? Nothing built in Blender for that, but maybe someone in the community made it already. Watching ducks from the window. Mike, go back to work. Okay, so now back being serious. As serious as we can be. So the complicated part here is this film, because ignoring the implementation of the path accessor, like ignoring all the logic happening here, okay, from any other area, from the film update for the viewport, we do have access to the render buffers. Okay, for the denoiser, we also have access to the render buffers, right? The destination number of components, we can deduct that. Exposure, we probably know. The film is the tricky one. We don't necessarily have it, and even if we had it, it might be out of sync with the render buffers. So, a number of samples, no. So for those two functions, we have everything from everywhere except for the film. What are you watching? Developer just mumbling into his microphone after pressing the start stream button. Okay, so and the only reason why we need film is because we need to know whether we want to use approximation or not, which we can almost store on the buffer params. But then okay, so I guess it uses exposure from the kernel film. Cycles X on update window every 20 samples. It's time-based. And currently there is no way to make it faster. It updates every couple of seconds after a given number of samples. So before going and saying, hey, how to add the option to make it faster, like what is the scene which is failing for you, in which scene the current logic of updates is not behaving good. Where I'm from? Good question. Originally from Russia, now living in Amsterdam for a long time. Okay, so where is the exposure? Exposure, yes, it comes from the kernel film. Okay, fine. Well, let's start surgering something. Okay, go here. Okay, so that's that. Isbert was originally who originally wrote the cycles. Yes, that was Brett who originally wrote cycles. For the amount of how many people working on it, quite a few people work, I guess. Hard to give exact number because like the permanent, so to speak, it's currently me and Brett, but there is a lot of other people from other studios and companies who are contributors to cycles. Hey Sergey, what all those oscilloscopes and generators behind you are for? Oscilloscopes is for checking the signals, the generators are to generate signals, right? I mean, I think there is more than people who listed on the module section. Okay, so let's stop being distracted. Do you have an idea when CPU and GPU will be working for cycle 6? Currently we are working on bringing this to wrong feature set for a single device. And we are still doing some deep refactors and modification of how that is being accessed and whatnot. After the bulk of that is done, we will be looking into multi-device rendering. So, don't know, like coming weeks, maybe. So film I don't like here, right? Well, actually, let's undo. Or not. No, yeah, let's Okay, so let's be a bit more incremental. Yay, rotoscoping. No plans, there are ideas. So, okay. Let's see if it still compiles. Huh. Stop sleeping. Yeah. Being lost in files. See my list. Why? Hold up a minute. Oh, maybe we need both. Okay. Ay, ay, ay. Oh, you're not late. I still have like hour and a half to go. Any progress on volume rendering? Nothing shareable at least. Is there any approximation when we will have volumes in cycles X? No. As soon as we make them. Okay, this still works. Ah. Okay. Keyboard sounds really good. When you work with this keyboard in the office, some people don't think so. Give us better installed fonts, better the font system that reads installed fonts. Oh man. I typing is say. Close enough. Particle nodes in the future. When can we expect particle nodes in the future? We can expect them in the future. There is not really much more I can say. Okay, let's detour real quick for the Falk. Falk with search. Interesting. Yeah, wonder. No, David, you should be able to push it. Repositories configure that members of BF Blender project can push, and you are part of the BF Blender, so should be fine. If it is not, then better to move this discussion out of the stream. Nothing I can quickly do. Fruit juice or coffee? Depends. Late in the evening, it's probably better without coffee. Or some pixels. Is the beta shadow catcher version updated on server? It should. We need to enable the shadow catcher pass for using the advanced mode. Okay, is it like that, or is it like that? Shadow catcher pass in the pass settings. If you don't enable that pass, the approximated method will be used. Like, let's see if I can quickly show it. So here, how do you zoom in nowadays? So you go to the passes and you enable in the light, I believe, other shadow catcher. That's what you need to enable. Anyway, back to refactor. Can I get any news on multi-GPU? There are no news. As I was saying earlier, we are focusing on bringing strong feature base before going the multi-GPU support. Okay. Using theme mode in VS Code? No, it's pretty much stock version of VS Code. At some point it just becomes too much waste of the time to configure the editor. Check, okay. Debug check is done. Wanted to see a keyboard someday. It's nothing special, just Cherry MX board 3, which is hard to see because exposed. But anyway, it just Cherry Mix Board 3. Nothing very special. It's alright, keyboard. I want to try the blue clickers, but I didn't find one which wouldn't have all those fancy LEDs and other modern things which I'm not a huge fan of. That round keys one. That's the red cherry buttons, keys, clickers. I don't know the buffer params. Buffers. Render buffers. Oh, because I don't know it. Okay. Depth is done. You know, let's try compile it. Nice. Who defined constructor as virtual? Who that could be? Like, come on. Who is in a sane mind will define constructor as virtual? Scalar. What? Pixels, run the buffers. What? Oh, const. Of course. Past right. Param buffer data. Work CPU accessor. Readability of installed fonts. That sounds like a feature request which we don't handle here. Is it hard to implement 2-minute paper researches? That's a bit too vague. Okay, to start seeing stuff, let's copy this and what did we do? The path depth. So this we did, and that we did. And that's the thing, like, that's suboptimal to copy paste all this. Oh, the Dynamo Dream. No, unfortunately I didn't have time for it yet. I expect it to be absolutely fantastic though. And of course I forgot to switch to the code. Now when okay. Not too bad, not too bad. How many screens? It's 2 screens. Oops. Why? Okay, compile. Let's do it here. Why is so blurry in the terminal? Why do I need? Try to samples count pass. Tuning from India. Good afternoon from Amsterdam. Boom enabled. Yes, I know, right? What exactly you want? Render. You want render buffer? Okay. So we want render buffers. We did pass the render buffers. Well, oh, one moment. Oh, but then, okay, oh. No, 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 no. No, it doesn't really work. Let's browser. Differential. Generate. No, but no. No, Brett, it wouldn't work. I made a mistake. I don't know why there is a mistake. Complications. Like, okay, so like, here's the tricky part, because it's not enough for accessing pixels. It is not enough to know the path type. We need the path name, because some cryptomat passes, for example, or AOV passes. Have real-time Viewport compositing. Well, yes. Shall I pass? Well, that's mistake in the previous. Mistake in the previous change, which Bragg didn't notice. Anyway, let's finish this part and then reiterate on the previous change. So let's make it inline. Okay. One thing though. Need to recompile and get some benchmark base point. And who remember syntax for capturing by reference of a single variable? How is that? Aha. So, well, it's deleted, but so that's that. Okay, 21 seconds for path tracing, 0.88 seconds for display update. So that's the number to stick to. To render in VR. Cycles will be too slow for that. You can render the stereoscopic panorama, but rendering at real time with cycles for VR, that's not something what is easy to do. For offline rendering, we did use cycles. There is the Commandos episode rendered for VR. How did you learn to code? By coding and failing. That's how you learn. You have some idea in mind, you try to implement it, then you fail, and then you learn why you failed, and then you become better. 21.68. Why is it faster? But okay, at least it's no speed regression, so that's fine. Now, Okay, this will find solution later, because that should be quite straightforward, and we can do some like, it's the wrong place for the comment. Because the rest would be quite a straightforward technical port. So render time we don't really care about. Missed. So let's no. This should work, right? So, no. Comment this out for the time being. In components, and here without plus and in components, and try to compile. In comp, in the render layers node, node's image layer is giving proper result than image layer. In render layers node. I'm not sure what you mean. Like, is it cycles X? Is it official releases? What is this? So why did I stop compiling? Oh, because the denoiser is not working with the shadow catcher and cycles X yet. This argument discards qualifier. Of course it does. But never. This is the entire struggle of getting the denoiser to work with shadow catcher passes. Because Ron was saying that he wants real-time compositing on Viewport. We want like a compositing graph in the cycles for defining all these relations of how to post-process the process. Okay, let's just move it here. It's compiled. Now let's see if it's still fast to render. Well, now let's try something crazy and try to inline it just to see what happens. What don't you like now? Oh, please. Okay. Three. That's 0.88. Why? Still have .80, .90. Okay. I guess it's because encoding is happening in background. I remember lower numbers, but that's okay. What's the time? 4:10. We have about 20 minutes. So let's reduce font size a bit, so then it's less jumpy. It's not less jumpy. Man, I don't see it. Sorry. Okay, sample count. Well, I can even do why you. Okay, sample count is done. Do it like that. That is all in line. That's good. Good. Shadow. There is no zero divide check needed because if there are 0 samples to be rendered, this code will not be run. What? It's like a bit implicit, but if you'll be like getting all the safety checks everywhere, it just becomes unmanageable. Well, for now, it's easier just to duplicate some code. So compile. Don't. Oops. That's wrong function. This one is the right one. Why you never compile first time? And the lighting is uneven. Hydrate, yes, and go outside, see some sun. Wouldn't that be great? Blender. So let's see. Blender. Light. Oops. So what are we looking at? Diffuse direct, fine. Diffuse indirect, also fine. Diffuse color also looks fine. Okay, so this part is done. So anyway, to start wrapping things up, so why are we exactly doing this? So basically the idea is to have the path accessor, which will be device independent from anything, and it will have particular implementation for CPU and GPU, and it will take care of the top level checks about how exactly how do we need to treat the pixel at a specific offset in the render buffer, and the actual per pixel processor it will kind of outsource to the subclass implementation, and on CPU we just do the regular loop over pixels, similar how we were doing before. And that would be the first step. And the next step would be to move the actual logic of what we are doing inside here, move it to reusable functions in the kernel film, Okay, so instead of doing the, for example, instead of doing all those divide logic here, we will move it to utility function somewhere else. And after that, what we'll be doing is we will create a GPU side implementation of the pass accessor, which will be running this much kernels, similar to the film convert one. And the idea is that then the kernels on the GPU will be much smaller, will be doing way less processing per pixel, and that will allow us it to be used for the viewport and for the denoising access. So yeah, that's what I'll be working on next, is to just finish up moving the breaking down the big if-else statement into more individual functions. There are a handful of functions to be filled in. Then make it GPU compliant as well. There are a couple of tricky things to be figured out, namely is how to pass the destination, because sometimes it will be device pointer, sometimes it will be host pointer, so we need to find some sort of nice solution from API point of view. And then another thing is that what I mentioned here is, unfortunately, you cannot just use the pass type for the offset, because for the AOV passes they do need names. They will all have the same type but different names. We'll need to find a solution for this, but it's quite straightforward. For the rest, hopefully it will also be straightforward, and hopefully that will unlock the denoising. It should both unlock denoising and viewport update for the shadow catcher. And for the denoising, it will also make it possible to denoise the light passes, like denoise, diffuse, direct and indirect, and color, because they also need to be divided first before you get the actual pixel which you can denoise. So while it's dragging a bit longer than I was hoping it would, it still seems that it will worth in the long term to once and for all to streamline this, make it as optimal as possible. It will also hopefully speed up somewhat speed up the viewport updates, because there is also quite some non-trivial logic going on here, more than it could be. Anyway, so that's just quick description of what will be happening in the next hours here. Denoising of cyclosec is working great in comp though. That is correct. The compositor was not touched in the cyclosecs. Is there any plan to add LUTs and cycles? Not that I'm aware of. Shadow catcher is also getting rendered, but with a little transparency. I am not sure what that means. The little transparency. Well, I mean, you just do something simple, right? You just do the shadow catcher. You do the. Also, it shouldn't be transparent. Like shadow catcher will have transparency when you do the proximate mode. And I did break something. Let's say. So under window. So the average shadow catcher is, well, it is average. it's not really accurate. If you do non-average mode by enabling shadow catcher, okay, so then there is no shadow catcher at all. It's the mate pass, like the combine becomes the net mate pass which you alpha over on your footage. But before you do that, you need to multiply your footage with the shadow catcher pass, which will bring you the proper like kind of light transfer thingamajig, which will give you all those colored shadows, indirect lights and whatnot. And so the workflow is you get your backdrop, you multiply it with the shadow catcher pass, and then you alpha over combined pass on top. It might be bug, might be something else, but curious to know what's your setup for the blend file is. That being said, we are running out of time, so anyway, I'll be finishing this up, and the next week hopefully it will be something more exciting. And for today I think we call it done. So anyway, I guess thanks everybody for tuning in. It's sorry for being probably so boring. Was kind of expecting it to be less boring, but turned out to be more like moving lights around, which is like it's that's what it is. Some days are quite exciting and you have very exciting results. Sometimes you just need to do what you need to do, and it was one of those days, I guess. That being said, have a great week and catch you next time.